Hey everybody!
Hey guys!
We are back with another video to talk to you guys about all the research we've been up to. If you are new to the channel or haven't been following along, we've been in the process of finding a new home for the road, and we are sharing with you all of the research that we've found out to help you out with finding a road rig as well. And today we'll be talking about the SUV category. This is an area where we're quite familiar with because we've been living on the road already for about 2 years in a small SUV, a Ford Escape, and we are now making a transition away from that Escape and trying to decide what the best road rig will be for us based on price, capabilities, and things of that nature, as well as miles per gallon. So we looked at tons of SUVs, and we have a list today that will go over the specs to give you an idea of what's out there, what you'll find, which ones are good for a road life rig, and how they compare. And at the end, we'll give you our pick. So, one of the main contenders would be the Ford Expedition. This is going to be obviously a much bigger vehicle. It's you know, pretty similar to our Escape, except we get a ton more room in that. We did check some out. We sat in them, laid in them to see how much space we got, and it was nicer because there was definitely a lot more space. The price range, we'll give you the price range on the vehicles to give you an idea for comparison. What we did here was we looked at the new prices just to give you an idea, but we are definitely not, we weren't looking at new vehicles, we'd be looking at used. So we'll give you the new, but then we'll also give you some sort of used price. And we're just looking around probably like 2014s with low mileage, you know, something in the 20 to 40,000, so around 30,000 miles. So for each of them, just keep in mind when we give you a used price, that's what we're talking about. So yeah, so for the Ford Expedition, the price range you'll probably find on those, they're around over 50,000 for a new one, but you can find some decent used ones are in that they'll be in the $35,000 price range. And the miles per gallon on those are about 15-20 for the used, and you're looking at 17-24 is a little better for the new ones. But yeah, again, that's if you want to buy like a 2018, 2019 vehicle, which we didn't because we didn't want to spend that much on this. But yeah, you get the four-wheel drive, you got lots of space, so pretty nice if you're living on the road, especially as two people with two dogs. That would give us a lot more elbow room. Similarly, there is the Chevy Suburban, which is quite comparable to the Ford Expedition. I mean, they're fairly similar vehicles. And it's in about the same price range, you know, 35-ish for used, 50-ish for a new one. And actually the gas mileage was quite comparable too. It was around the 15-21 for the older ones. And it's actually about that for the new ones too, so it doesn't sound like they've done quite as much of an advantage on the gas mileage on the newer ones, but again, didn't really matter for us. We weren't looking for new. But if you are, that might be something to look at. I think the Fords have better gas mileage on those newer Expeditions. So going down the line, we've got the we've also got the GMC. GMC makes a Yukon. Again, kind of same class of vehicles, these really big SUVs. The Yukon was a bit pricier. Used are closer to like the $40,000 range. Again, I know you can find them all over price range, but this is kind of the average for something with fairly low miles, which again, we weren't going to buy something with super high miles. It doesn't really serve our purpose if we have to switch out vehicles right away because of a high mileage or some sort of issue. So then Nissan. Nissan makes their big SUV. They have the Armada. We did check out those. They seemed a little bulky to us. They're all big, but the Armadas just seemed really bulky to us. And they are around the, you can find some new ones for the $30,000 price range. Used ones, again, closer to 50, maybe. And the miles per gallon seemed a bit lower for the Armadas. They were more like 12, 18. New ones maybe 14, 19. So from our research, it looks like the gas mileage is a bit lower for the Armada. That was kind of a hit for us. We really, you know, we do a lot of miles, so we wanted to get slightly better gas mileage, especially with an SUV option. Nissan does make their Xterra too. That would be a little closer to like Escape Explorer size. It's not quite, you know, Expedition size, Armada size. Nice vehicle. I do like the Xterras. They don't make them anymore, so that's fine. We would be looking at used. And you're probably talking around $20,000 for something, again, in that mileage range. So they get about 16-20-ish for gas mileage. So going on down the line, we've got a few other contenders. We do have the Toyota Sequoia out there as a large SUV. We rather quickly ruled it out. Price range was a bit high for us. And the gas mileage was only like 13, 17 for most of the years we looked at. So that one wasn't really exciting us too much. Few other mentionables that are out there. FJ Cruiser, that one comes up as kind of a good off-road vehicle and might have a little elbow room in it. We checked them out. Again, very cool vehicle, I will admit. And then a lot of them, I think all of them have the plug in the back that you can rinse it out, although if we had a bed in it, that might not be an option. But yeah, cool off-road vehicle. A little on the pricey side, and they do not make those anymore as well. So I'm not sure how that would work out. A lot of the used ones with mid-mileage, we're looking like they're still going for like $35,000, and they may even be kind of like a specialty vehicle for people to find now, which might be driving the prices up on them. So we really didn't want to overpay just because of that. So kind of ruled that one out for us. Gas mileage wasn't amazing. It was around like 15, 18-ish. So nothing special there per se. Another great contender in the SUV category is the Toyota 4Runner. This vehicle would surely give us some good clearance and obviously those off-road capabilities. And it's a pretty nice vehicle. Price range on this is about mid-30s still for a used one. You might be able to find one around $30,000 depending on that year. Newer ones are obviously a bit more. They can get up to the mid-40s. Depends on the trim. What you'll notice with the 4Runners is there are a lot of options in terms of trim. One of those being the TRD off-road package that you can get with this, which would obviously be something that we would enjoy having. Its gas mileage is somewhere around 17-21. Again, it depends on which package you're looking at and which year. All around, pretty cool vehicle. Definitely a good consideration. But for us, we probably wouldn't go with it just because we were moving away from the Escape size and trying to get a little more stretch room. But yeah, if we wanted to stay with something smaller, this would definitely be a good option. And if you are looking for something to go around in, and you don't have 2 people and 2 dogs, and even if you do, you could do it for a while in the 4Runner. Ford makes a Ford Flex. You might have seen that vehicle. I don't know. We actually hadn't heard of it before until we went looking around. It's kind of an interesting option. Definitely something to look at and consider. It's sort of a boxy vehicle, which when you're living on the road, you'll find when you're trying to build a conversion into a vehicle, the boxiness is actually preferable. You get better use of space with that boxy design. That's actually, we talked a lot about our Escape. It's a 2012 Escape, and you'll find when you go from the 2012 Ford Escape or the others to the 2013 model, it changes, and you get more of a rounded look to it. And the roundedness loses room for us, particularly like headroom and elbow room. So we like the boxiness. So the Ford Flex, yeah, had that boxiness. And all the seats would fold down, and we would have had quite a bit of room to work with. Interesting contender. I don't know you know, I'm not sure about the clearance on it. And along the lines of just finishing up the Fords, of course, there's the Explorers and the Escapes out there too. Again, we know all too well about the Escape. The Escape is well, the older Escape, like I said. Our 2012 Escape was amazing for off-road life. I mean, it could get anywhere. I wouldn't have normally thought that this vehicle would have made it to the places we made it to, but you guys that have been following along surely know that we got to some pretty awesome spots in this Escape. The tires we had on it really helped out and did the trick, and we'll talk about those too in other videos. But the Escape is an option. If you are one person, surely that would be perfect and plenty of room. You and a dog, it's great. It worked for us for 2 years, but we are 2 people and 2 dogs, and it was getting a little squishy, which is why we're hoping to gain a little more room. So, for the reasons of the new model Escape and the fact that we were looking for a little more room, if we're, you know, going out to get a new vehicle and paying, for us, it didn't make sense to get another Escape at this point. So kind of ruled that out for us, but definitely a consideration for you guys. And obviously you could look at Explorers just the same and get just a hair more room. I think that just about does it. Yeah,
there's a lot of other options out there. Obviously for SUVs, there's a million out there you can choose from. We kind of just chose the ones that we would be comfortable living in because we're 2 people and 2 dogs. So there's a lot of smaller ones, just like a regular Jeep. You could do that if you're just one person. Obviously, that would be great for off-road, but with 2 people, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, and even as one person, the Jeeps don't have a ton of room, and you can't really do as many custom builds in it. So as cool as they are, again, yeah, we kind of ruled that out early on. Yeah,
I think Ford Escape is probably about the smallest you want to go with 2 people. So you can go smaller, but it's just going to be really uncomfortable, and if you're in it full-time, it's not worth it. And you're all about in the same price range anyway, so you might as well just get a little extra room for you. So
yep,
it's worth it in the long run.
Yeah,
you can't go back and get rid of it. You can. You're just going to lose a lot of money. So
there are some other ones too, like the Land Cruisers out there. Again, that would be an awesome vehicle to have, but that's just was out of our price range for this particular thing. So
yeah, the Land Rovers, all those ones are.
Yeah, I mean, cool.
And before we let you guys go for the day, just a few tips on comparing all these vehicles. Obviously, you probably noticed that they're quite similar. There's very small variation in vehicles, so it makes it a lot easier if you have some resources to go to just have something across the board where you can compare specs and pricing and miles per gallon and all that information in one shot. Otherwise, you're jumping from place to place and trying to compare year to year, and it can get rather frustrating. So, a couple of tips. One, online there is a place where you can search for vehicles as well, and it's Car Gurus. It's a pretty common website, so cargurus.com. And that website also has a feature where you can straight out compare vehicles. So again, you could put in the vehicles you want to compare. I think you can only go up to 3 at a time, but still a handy resource. So just like this example, you could put in, say, you know, the Ford Expedition, the Nissan Armada, and the Chevy Suburban, and you'll get to a page where the results are presented for those 3 vehicles, and you can just kind of scroll down, and you'll get to an area that shows the specs, everything from, you know, the fuel economy to discussing the engine and safety, as well as interior, payload and towing specs, if that matters to you, which payload can be important when you're living in a vehicle because we do things like build a bed into it, or if you're us, you know, we collect rocks, so payload becomes important. What can the vehicle handle? So you can compare those numbers right here. And it also talks about exterior numbers, the length, width, wheelbase, things of that nature. It's really handy to have it all on one source and just compare those vehicles right away.
Also, another bit of useful information, if you're into actually physically looking at vehicles, CarMax is a wonderful place to visit. If you've never been there before, you should go check it out. So if you don't like regular car dealerships and salesmen in your face, this is the perfect place to go. So you actually don't drive through the parking lot. You actually park, and you're only allowed to walk through their parking lot. So you go in, and if you need help, they have salespeople there that can help you. Otherwise, they just let you peruse through all their vehicles on your own. So you don't have the salesman with you at all. But the big thing is they leave all of their vehicles open for you. So you can go into any vehicle you want out in the parking lot. You can fold the seats down, do anything you want in the vehicle. And so you can actually physically compare them without having to wait for the salesman to go get the keys and open it up, and it's a big hassle. And another great thing about CarMax is they already have the prices printed on every vehicle, so you know exactly what you're paying for the vehicle without even asking anybody. And their prices include the tax, title, and licensing, but there's no haggling. So that's the price that's on the tag is the price that you're paying. You can't chew them down at all on the price. What we found out is CarMax is a little bit more expensive than most places. You can get them cheaper other places, but you're pretty much paying for the convenience. So in the long run, it's definitely a place to go check out if you're just looking and you want to see some other vehicles. Make sure you check out one that I think they're pretty much in every state now, so there should be one close by to you. A lot of the issues we ran into with the newer ones is everything's mechanical now, and everything's really fancy. So if you want just basic stuff, it's really hard to get with newer vehicles. Even we went and looked at like the 2008 Expedition and things like that, and they all had mechanical like second row and third row seats. So if you wanted to take out the seats like we did in the Escape, it's going to be a major thing to do because you'll have to rip out all the electronics for it. So if you can find an older one, we would probably choose to get like an older Expedition, the ones with just the fold down seats, because you get a lot of extra seat space. But you still get four-wheel drive and you still get a decent gas mileage. So if you can find an older one, that's probably what we would choose if we would go with an SUV, or if we'd get another SUV. So
yeah, so that would probably be our choice when it comes down to it. Probably something like Ford Expedition would be our choice if we go with SUV, based on those criteria. It gets half-decent gas mileage for, the list that we went over. The space was good. It was boxier. Seemed to have a lot of room in it. The Chevy Suburban would be quite similar as well, so it's kind of hard to compare the two because they're really close contenders. But something in that area would probably be our pick.